You should reconsider this guy.
The room fell silent at her words. The adults exchanged uncertain glances. My sister, attempting to diffuse the tension, was about to intervene, but I stopped her. Why?
Because the lumberjack is giving him a scary look. And I can't see his face, there's too much hair.
I'm Sophia. We live as a family of 5, my parents, my sister, and niece. My sister lost her partner to illness and returned home with my 2-year-old niece, Emma. Since then, we've all pitched in to raise Emma. Luckily, I work from home, so I take care of Emma during the day while my parents and sister are busy. I own my own company, but I don't have any employees. I started the company by myself and generate income. A game app one developed during my student days became popular, and subsequent app releases have been consistently successful. Now, I have a stable income. My sister worries about me, a recluse who rarely leaves the house.
Sophia, you know you could move out, right?
Why would I?
Isn't it time for you to experience living alone or something?
Not really.
Are you worried about us?
Huh?
You've been helping with Emma since we moved back. With your income, you could afford a fancy city apartment.
A city apartment? No thanks.
But
enough. What's your point?
you're still young. What about romance?
Romance? Not interested. Being with Emma is all the comfort I need, so don't worry about me. And it's true, I adore my niece. I've never had any interest in romantic relationships. I just want to be there for Emma, who is the child of my sister I deeply respect. I openly admit I really care about my sister, and I'd do anything for her. I've even chased away countless worthless guys who approached my sister like a loyal dog. Among them, my brother-in-law was the only one I thought I could trust to take care of my sister. Losing him was hard on my sister, and I want to be there for her. Both my sister and Emma mean the world to me. My niece is quite mysterious. When we spend time together, she occasionally does something odd. When she was just 2 years old, she would suddenly wave her hand as if saying, "Goodbye." Initially, I thought she was dancing along with the TV, but she does it even when the TV is off, laughing as she waves. I mentioned this to my sister, but she couldn't recall any relevant incidents. One day, I asked my niece, "Are you saying goodbye to someone?" She nodded. Then, in the next moment, she pointed behind me. My spine involuntarily stiffened. A child waving at nothing, stories like that circulate. Things unseen by adults are visible to children. But having her point behind me was unsettling. Still, my niece's laughter reassured me. When she started speaking, I asked her, "Who are you waving to?"
A lumberjack.
A lumberjack? Who? She loves books, and lately, she's been asking me to read stories about lumberjacks. I understood that she saw someone resembling a lumberjack. Now, it's routine for her to wave at this unseen figure, and my fear has faded. And when my niece turned 8, the lumberjack's true identity was revealed. That summer, during a visit to my maternal grandparents' house, I was cleaning the storage shed. My niece, eager to help, pointed at a photograph in the shed.
Look! It's the lumberjack.
She exclaimed. The lumberjack?
Yes. It's the lumberjack.
Confused, I studied the photo she indicated. This person is the lumberjack? She nodded.
Yes, he visits you sometimes.
I chuckled. Actually, that's not the lumberjack. He's your mom's and my grandpa. And instead of a lumberjack, he is a hunter.
What's a hunter?
Someone who receives the spirit of a bear.
Ah, I see. A hunter looks like a lumberjack.
She observed. Indeed, there's a resemblance. The figure my niece saw was my late grandpa. It warmed my heart. My grandpa passed away when I was in middle school, but I was very close to him. He had been a hunter, a traditional bear hunter, and taught me about bear behavior and hunting. He, citing the mountain god's wrath, didn't take me along because I was a young girl. However, I learned how to handle bears and extract oil. Even now, it feels like he's watching over us. And during this time, I had an encounter with a certain man. It happened while I was giving a lecture on app development, at the request of a friend. The man who approached me, eyes shining as he looked at the app I'd developed, was Michael. Although he worked as a regular employee in a corporate company, he attended the lecture because he wanted to explore app development as a side gig.
Can I create popular apps like you, ma'am?
Well, once you learn the programming languages, it's mostly a matter of practice. There's limitless potential. We exchanged only a few words initially, but afterward, I became close to him as he attended my lectures repeatedly, and we eventually started dating. Until then, I had no interest in romance, but his graceful demeanor captivated me. It was one of those days. Michael asked me to meet him at a nearby cafe because he had something to discuss. As soon as I arrived, I noticed the weight on his shoulders.
I'm sorry for bothering you when you're busy.
But I needed to see you. His story was heavy. His mother was seriously ill, with little time left. There was a chance that advanced medical treatment could save her, but it required funds. Unfortunately, without insurance, he couldn't afford it. It's a tough situation.
With $35,000, I might be able to help my mom.
I encouraged him. Please do whatever you can. And remember, sometimes just talking about it can ease the burden. But then he hesitated, saying,
Still, $35,000 isn't easy to come by.
He's been working for over 10 years, so not having $35,000 in savings seems surprising. Saving $3,500 per year shouldn't be too difficult given his job. Michael, don't you have any money? After all these years?
No, it's not like that. But $35,000 feels like a huge sum.
Sorry, I still don't understand. Do you have $35,000 or not? Michael hesitated and then said,
Yes I do.
Well, then it's not a problem. Use it for your mom as soon as possible. I reassured him. Unexpectedly, he changed the topic.
If I use that money, we won't be able to have a wedding, will we?
Surprised, I asked. What? Michael confessed.
I want to marry you, Sophia.
It was an unforeseen proposal. Marriage, something I hadn't actively considered, suddenly felt significant. But right now, there were more pressing matters. Sure, if I were to get married, I'd want it to be with you. But I'm not the type for big weddings, so I think a simple engagement party would suffice. Even though we call it an engagement, it's really just a formality. We can just gather our families for a meal. So go ahead and use that $35,000 for your mom. I have a decent income too, so there won't be any financial worries after we're married. You can rest assured.
Thank you.
3 months after that incident, I was relieved to hear that Michael's mother began to recover thanks to advanced medical treatment. And once again, Michael proposed marriage, and I accepted. I had thought each of us would visit each other's parents' homes to exchange greetings. However, since his parents' house is company housing and they'd like to avoid becoming the subject of neighborhood gossip, we decided not to visit their house. Instead, we held the meeting at a restaurant. To avoid inconveniencing him, I also refrained from inviting him to my home. My parents, I, and he all gathered at another restaurant. Afterward, we would celebrate our engagement with a private family meal, and both sides agreed to proceed with the wedding. However, it was during this gathering that my niece made a surprising statement. On that day, my niece was unusually restless from mourning. When I asked her why, she claimed that the hunter was moving around more than she'd ever seen. I tried to stay positive, thinking maybe my grandpa was nervous about my wedding. But when we arrived at the restaurant and took our seats, my niece spoke up before any greetings.
You should reconsider this guy.
The room fell silent. The adults wore indescribable expressions. My sister attempted to diffuse the tension, but I stopped her. Why?
Because the hunter is giving him a scary look. And I can't see his face, there's too much hair.
Michael shot an uncomfortable glance at my niece.
Children have vivid imaginations, don't they? Maybe it's from TV.
He attempted to lighten the mood. But his smile vanished, leaving him pale. Perhaps anyone would find my niece unusual upon first meeting her. Still, in that moment, I sensed Michael's narrow-mindedness as he twisted his face at a child. I see. Maybe reconsider this guy.
The hunter has been standing in front of you, Sophia, all this time. He's been brushing away the hair that keeps growing from this guy's head. And a white dog is angry.
She pointed at Michael's mother.
A dog?
Yes, the hair growing from his head has been bothering the white dog.
Michael's mother's expression changed abruptly, and she immediately began apologizing.
I apologize. I don't need the money anymore. Consider this job non-existent.
Job? Both my parents and I were puzzled. But it was Michael who responded with a barrage of insults.
Damn it! Fulfill your role properly.
I'll refund the money. I shouldn't have taken this job. I apologize.
Your fault. It's all ruined. Or rather, this creepy.
Enough. I won't allow hurtful words toward my loved ones. Now, what's going on? The truth revealed by his mother left us all dumbfounded. As it turns out, the person I believed to be Michael's mother was actually a hired staff member, a jack of all trades. In other words, she wasn't his mother. She knew it was wrong, but tempted by the money, she accepted the request. Despite her desperate apologies, I couldn't bring myself to blame her. At this point, marriage was the least of our concerns. But Michael was determined to salvage the situation. Tearfully, he said,
Sophia, I'm truly sorry for lying. But please understand, my mom couldn't be here due to her hospitalization. I truly care about you, and that's why I asked someone to play the role of my mom. My feelings for you are genuine. Please believe me.
His eyes pleaded with me. No, it's impossible, I replied without hesitation. What kind of marriage starts with a lie? Is this some B-movie? This is real life. I won't marry under false pretenses. Let's consider this marriage null and void. Michael sighed and took a different approach.
Fine. Guess it's over. You're stingy anyway.
What?
Normally, you'd help pay for your partner's mother's medical expenses. To you, $35,000 isn't a big deal.
No, it's an enormous sum. I corrected him.
That's why I called you stingy. I thought marriage would give me financial freedom. Well, if there's no marriage, then I guess I don't need to be here anymore. You're truly creepy.
Wait, Michael. Michael was about to utter hurtful words to my niece again, but in that instant, he scratched his neck and collapsed. In a hurry, we called an ambulance, but when they asked about family members, there was no one here for Michael. As a result, he was taken to the hospital alone. My niece chimed in.
His hair was tangled around his neck, so it must have been painful.
The tense atmosphere seemed to tighten even more.
The white dog is smiling. That's great.
My niece said to the woman who had posed as Michael's mother. She had been single and owned a dog. Recently, her dog had passed away, and she couldn't bear the loneliness. She had been working in a job that left her feeling desperate and burdened with guilt. However, now she's determined to find a proper job. After apologizing repeatedly, she left the restaurant. Well, he was after my money, it seems. How embarrassing. I apologize for inconveniencing everyone, I said, laughing nervously. My niece beamed, but my parents and sister remained unsmiling.
Emma, can you really see these things?
My sister asked. My parents and sister are more fascinated by my niece than by the fact that my marriage fell through. Well, I guess it's true. Sometimes that lightens the heart.
Is anyone with Mom?
My sister continued.
No one.
Ah, I see. Well, let's eat a feast and then go home. It's my treat.
Ultimately, we ended up having a family dinner, and we returned home. Emma, thank you for today, I said to my niece after returning home. But she seemed contemplative.
We shouldn't tell lies.
Huh? Why?
Because I lied to Mom.
What?
There's always Dad by Mom's side. But it's a secret.
Why?
Dad is watching over Mom silently.
I see. He must want to protect both you and Mom. From that moment on, my niece stopped mentioning what she could see. The adults around her, including me, avoided the topic. Although I hadn't seen Michael since he was taken to the hospital, 6 months had passed. One day, while watching TV, I nearly choked on my tea. The program featured women who had fallen victim to marriage scams. They united, hired detectives, and sought refunds from the con artists. The mosaic-covered scammer on screen looked unmistakably like Michael. The same tactics, claiming his mother had a terminal illness and needed advanced medical treatment, had ensnared women, some of whom had given over $70,000. Wow. I'm relieved I wasn't fooled. Thank you, Emma. My niece was smiling. 10 years later, my niece turned 18, and I entered my 40s, but a new encounter awaited me. But does marriage hold any meaning for me now, past the age of 40? Lost in thought, my niece approached and whispered.
Sophia, this time it's genuine. You'll definitely be happy. Congratulations.
Huh? 6 months later, I married and left my parents' home, enjoying blissful days. My niece had saved me countless times, and whether or not she possessed mysterious abilities, she remained dear to me. As an aunt who had received so much help, I genuinely wished for her happiness. Marriage scams are despicable. I hope victims receive their refunds swiftly. Let's strive to live honestly and righteously.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.